everybody, welcome to this edition of Confessions of a Nurse. This is a show in which nurses discuss the things that they see in nursing practice today that they think need to be addressed. We try to offer solutions. And I have with me Ruby. She's from Tacoma. Hi, Ruby.
Okay, my name is Ruby and I'm actually from Maple Valley, and I used to be a renal nurse for 6 years, but I just transferred to telemetry neuromed surge unit just recently.
And this is how we actually met. I was taking care of your father.
Yes.
And he told me you were a nurse and you were coming in, and we started talking. I was just like, oh my God, you're so perfect for this show. And I would really love to hear, you know, I would love for us to share the same kind of feedback you gave me with regards to what you think about the state of nursing practice today. What do you like? What are the things that maybe you think need to be changed? And we want to focus on solutions, but we want to be able to say what those those negative things are too, because we cannot do a show that is supposed to advance the profession of nursing if we're not in some way trying to fix anything, any cracks in the system, right?
I wrote something down, like,
Okay.
kind of like brainstorm, about the beauty of nursing and
Aw.
the challenges, I guess, of nursing.
Absolutely.
And I think, my philosophical ideas about nursing do not deviate, from those who have practiced or are inspiring to practice nursing. My nursing paradigm is deeply entrenched in the belief that what makes a good nurse is one who cares about the well-being and overall health of another,
Absolutely.
without losing compassion.
Right.
However, what makes a great nurse is one who cares about the well-being and overall health of another individual without losing compassion and empathy.
And
We work in a very well-diverse population.
Absolutely.
And I think what's one of the main challenges as a nurse is, just like what we talked to before, is I think understaffing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So sometimes, when I speak to my colleagues, sometimes I hear them saying, just like what I've experienced, that I feel like sometimes I've been used.
Okay.
So I think,
What do you mean?
because
Like, what situation would make you feel that way?
due to these budgets and whatnot, like, I think, I don't know if there's still like shortage of nursing. Way back 5-6 years ago, yeah, I acknowledge there's like, short staffing issues. But, we've had so much nurses who came from different countries. And we have like, younger generations, just like, in my
Coming into this.
specialty, coming into nursing.
Right.
And my main issue was like, all the time when I come to the administration was like not questioning, but wanting to find resolution why and how come we don't have enough nurses.
Right.
And so sometimes when there's like supposedly 5 nurses, let's say for example in one unit, and there's only like 3 nurses trying to like make it,
Right, you're supposed to have 5 in the staffing matrix, but instead there are 3 working.
Yes.
So they have to do the work of 5 people.
Yes.
That's
And so on
pretty-
the top of, higher acuity,
So the patients are sicker.
yes.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna affect overall, care
Absolutely.
for our patients.
Absolutely.
And not only that, I mean, we always say, safety is,
Safety
number
first,
one
right.
priority.
Right.
But, if you're already stressed out, overworked, you have higher acuity, how can
How
you...
can you be safe?
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that's one
And it puts your
of...
license at risk.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not just the patient's life.
Not just the patient's life. I mean, so there's 2 very serious things that can happen right there. It could have an adverse effect on the patient, and you can lose your license. And that's something that could have been prevented with adequate staffing.
Yeah. Because,
Yeah.
like, with us not taking care of ourselves too, not being able to, like, sleep, not being able to, go to the bathroom, not being able to
What's
eat.
up with nurses though? Why don't you just go to the bathroom? It's like you feel guilty because you have to leave the unit and leave your patients so that you can actually go to the restroom.
Yeah, there's
So I
just
don't
so
understand.
much things to do,
It's so
and
embedded in that culture.
and I think it's our compassion, and
It's
they
true.
would always say find time, find time, find time.
And
But
they said take your breaks, take your breaks.
yes, but if you have like one patient is complaining of chest pain, and then another one complaining of having a signs and symptoms of stroke, you know, and
You're not going anywhere.
yes, just to take care of them,
Absolutely.
as nurse. That's why I said, you have to have like compassion and empathy, to become a nurse.
You mentioned that even though that situation is happening, I think one of the things that we need to be teaching each other is how best to how to delegate. Because there's no way you can be in two rooms at the same time. It just doesn't happen. And that's one of the things we already learned in nursing school anyways, time management. But in a situation like this, it's more than just time management because there are two critical things happening. Someone's having a heart attack, the other one's having a stroke. And time is tissue, right? So you want to save the heart, you want to save the brain cells. So what do? You have to get help at that point. But then it comes in a situation where you have you need 5 nurses and you have 3 working. Who are you going to get to help you?
True, and that 3 nurses doesn't work in one day.
Right.
So basically, in our in my past unit, there's only like 2 nurses. What I meant to say by 3 nurses, it's a rotation between the whole week where you have to divide. There are certain schedules or days where you have to work by yourself too, because
What's
one
the
call
nurse to
in.
patient ratio?
It's
Are we
that-
talking dialysis or telemetry?
Oh, well, where I'd been through before, outpatient dialysis, if you'll be working by yourself, chances are you'll be working with 24 to 28 patients in 8-hour shift.
Wow.
If you're the only one, if there's like one
Wow.
call in, if they can find someone,
Oh
that's
my goodness. So how
know,
many people were supposed to take care of that population, that number of patients?
just
Normally.
one is normally if there's like 2 nurses, it's 1:14
Okay.
patients.
But now you end up having double the
Double
number.
the number.
Okay, that explains why someone will feel used if that happens all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. And you get burnt out and exhausted. Yeah. This is kind of scary, actually. If you're the only one and there's 28 people, I mean, at any given time, you may have like 4 people on dialysis at the same time. And something starts happening to one person and it's happening to another person across. What the heck?
That's right. And
What the heck?
plus you're supervising your 4 technicians.
Whoa.
So you're supervising the whole unit. You're supervising, if your technicians are doing the right thing, you are supervising the patients and the family who comes there.
Oh, yeah.
So that's too
true.
much,
That's too much
responsibilities.
for one person.
Yeah, for one person. That's just like the worst case scenario. Oftentimes happening, that's not acceptable. I
Right.
think,
Right.
even though how competitive you are as a nurse and
Right.
time management,
And what I find really amazing is that we get it done. Like, how the heck do we get it done? And I think that's one of the reasons why things are not improving as fast as they could. Because of that compassion and that empathy, we go above and beyond and exceed in terms of service, in terms of how much you're taking on. And as a result of that, you take care of that group of people. And so next time they think you can do it again. We want to make sure our patients are safe, and they did come in for dialysis, and we know they can die if they don't have it. I mean, I work in the ICU. How many patients do I get from centers because maybe they didn't finish the dialysis because their blood pressure became too low, and they come in fluid overloaded because they didn't go in for dialysis. So they skip one day, makes all the difference in their life.
Oh, yes.
All the difference in their life. They cannot breathe, it's really scary.
They have like swelling
It's
everywhere.
Everywhere. I mean, the fluid just goes somewhere, because you can't pee it out. It's just so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we know this. And that's why when you see someone sitting there, you just get to it. You do what needs done.
True.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
like
my gosh.
imagine, we as nurses, as compassionate as we are, we always think like, what if, we are in their shoes? What if we
Right.
can't breathe? Or what if?
Right. Exactly.
So we do the
Exactly.
things that we need to do in
Exactly.
order for us to help and care. And,
Right. Right.
but how do I wish though, the
I would think-
patients that we take care of appreciates like what we do, because like we
Right.
always don't get that.
Okay.
As much as we wanted to help out
Mm-hmm.
and wanting them, wanting to be an instrument to extend their lives,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes there's like some things that that's not coming from the patient's response,
Mm-hmm.
side, like the responsibility to take care of themselves.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I wish it's like a two-way street. Like, I
Right.
take care of you, but, on the other hand, that's
need
just
to
my
take-
wish,
Right. Well, but that is something that we advocate. We want patients. We are patient advocates, yes. But even part of being a patient advocate is advocating for them. Well, it's teaching them to be their own personal advocates, right?
Yes.
Teaching them to become involved in their own care, and teaching them to champion the tools that we give them to help prevent reoccurrences of chronic diseases, right, or chronic symptoms.
But,
So-
yeah, we as, an interdisciplinary team, we can only do much. But
Right.
if we're not getting,
If the patient is non-compliant,
Absolutely.
we refer to those who absolutely refuse to do anything that needs to be done, and then they can't breathe and show up for dialysis or show up to the emergency room because they chose not to go to dialysis for twice that week, and now they come like a little balloon.
yeah.
And we have to do emergency dialysis right away. Their potassium is usually, oh my God, off the roof. And it's usually so high that it's almost incompatible with life. And so we have to immediately bring that down, like pretty much stat, like immediately, so that they don't keel over.
Yeah.
But they could have prevented this by just going to dialysis when they were supposed to go.
True.
And they know this. And the worst part about this, though, I think, is that same person will be back.
Yeah.
Once we fix them, the emergency care is taken care of, they go home. And then they repeat the whole process a couple of weeks later or another month later, and they go, oh gosh, I'm tired of going to that place. And then they're back again. So, there is that understanding that it is a very difficult thing to do, to spend think about transportation time and the time to get ready. That's almost like your whole day's gone, and that's 3 times a week, every single week. And there's nothing for you to do when you get there, really. You're just laying down. So you can see how someone would be extremely, how someone would get tired of the process.
True.
We can see that, but at the same time, it is what's keeping you alive. What else did you want to discuss?
To discuss about like continuing education, because like that's what pretty much we talked to. I just felt like because like whenever I kind of like talk to my colleagues, they can't really enjoy being a nurse,
Right.
because they have like $70,000-$80,000 of
In
debt.
debt. Absolutely.
And like for some nurses too, like who wanting to like just like me, who wanting to like continue on with education.
Okay.
For some reason it's kind of like stopping us, to pursue or wait for the right time. It's because
Because of the debt, or
some companies, they only have like 3,000 tuition reimbursement.
Okay.
And to go to school over here is gold.
right, right.
Just like them, they said, I have 70 to 80,000 debts.
Okay. And you're giving me 3,000 reimbursement.
Absolutely. And I think, if they'll
Yeah.
just, if the government's just, I don't know, if I have to like address this issue to the government or, private
Become
sectors.
politically active.
Yeah.
in Washington.
Yeah, most nurses do know commitments, I think, if you get into nursing, we kind of like embrace, lifelong learning experience here.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think if the government would see that, or,
Are you thinking that they're going to figure out some way
Some
for
ways.
tuition to be
Yes.
lower? But you know, anybody watching that would say that's across all specialty areas. Their kids are coming out of school right now with $80,000 in debt and no jobs. So how does the government balance all of this, though? You know, but it's one solution. I mean, that's one possible way for them to look at ways that it could decrease. But it gets tricky. If they're doing this for nursing, should they do it for every single profession in the entire country? And where does that money come from? It's still going to end up coming from us. Because the government doesn't, you know what I mean? Yeah.
There's already a lot of taxes coming from our paychecks.
So we don't need that,
And
right?
on the top of that, you know, we
Yeah.
empathize, you know, with the community and whatnot, you know.
I
We
know,
know
I
what's
know.
going on, you know what's up.
Absolutely.
So that's why I said, like, you know, reality wise, a lot of our taxes goes to, you know, and we take care of them, we medicate them, and
right,
you know,
right.
and that's just one thing that, you know,
That
how
kind of
I
bugs.
wish, you know, there could be like
There are some hospitals, especially for new nurses that come in.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of hospitals, and I think this is one thing they can champion. A lot of hospitals actually do tuition reimbursement. They actually take care of that loan or whatever debts you did incur during nursing school in exchange for signing a contract to work for a certain period. And so if one of the things nurses can do is find institutions that offer that. I have worked in several of them across the country. And the nurses come, they work for 2-3 years, and their debt is covered, and they don't have to worry about it. So that's one thing. So if your institution offered that, it wouldn't be so terrible, you know what I mean? But the thing I was thinking too about what you had mentioned earlier about the shortage of nursing, you know, there has been, especially with the economic downturn, there has been more of an influx of people coming from different specialty areas, different professions, I meant to say, and becoming nurses as a second career because there's no other alternatives. And so now we have this mix of different people who have different vocational ideas or different, who had different ideas of what they were going to do with their life. But I was just thinking that now that we have that influx of nurses coming in, it does feel like we don't have the shortage, right? But if you really think about it, if every single hospital is complaining that they need nurses and they're all working short-staffed, there must be a problem. You know,
so true.
there must be a problem somewhere. And one thing that's really scary is the fact that the average age of a nurse is like 54 years old and getting old. And this was like a few years that I checked this. So that they're getting older, they're all going to be retiring, and that includes faculty members. And so there's like this huge dip in terms of workforce that's facing us, you know, with this aging population. And it's not, you're going, oh my God, it's not going to get better. This stuff is getting worse.
That's why they needed to take care of us, you know,
So we stay.
so that we stay and we don't get burned out.
I know.
You
So-
take, you know, take care of the patients, take care of the people who's taking care of the patients.
You know, we'll have to continue this conversation. Hold that thought because you have to come back. Will you come back? I'm asking her on the air. We can talk about it later. But I have to wrap up this show. This has been our first studio episode of Confessions of a Nurse. And I have here with the lovely Ruby. We should call you lovely Ruby. Thank you all for watching. And until next time, this has been Sonya Justice. Bye-bye.